Hey, welcome back to the channel. Do you have a Nintendo Switch or Switch Lite that you have physically damaged the stick and you know very well that a shim isn't going to take care of it? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at what it takes to put a new joystick in the left side of a Switch Lite. So, if you stick around, we'll show you how to get it done. Hey, welcome back. On the bench today, we have a Switch Lite with a busted joystick. And okay, I know the thumbnail is a bit of a joke, tongue-in-cheek, whatever, because there has been so much talk about, shimming. And of course, my stance has been they break in a lot of other ways other than just, backing plates pushing off. So, anyway, today we're going to look at what it takes to actually change the stick in a Switch Lite. It's a little bit more involved than swapping a stick and a Joy-Con. I know I just did a video recently, I'll link up there, about how simple it really is to change these guys in a Joy-Con. And the stick is fairly inexpensive. So for the few dollars for a new stick, it outweighs the labor involved in trying to play with a shim to see if you can get it to come back to life. But in the Switch Lite, we're up against a couple things. First of all, obviously we got to take the entire thing apart to get to the sticks. The left one isn't so bad. This board on this side is actually separate from the rest of it. But to change the stick on the right, the entire motherboard has to come out, and it's an involved process. And if you don't have steady hands, you may want to let that one go to somebody that's a little bit more professional or has a little bit more experience. Because I can tell you, I've worked on several of these over the years that people have caused more damage just by getting in and out of them. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll put our new stick aside, and of course, I've got this little foam pad that I've been keeping around just because sometimes you need a little pressure on the screws. And it comes apart just like a standard switch, where our back screws are tri-wings, the top and bottom screws are Phillips. So let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure there's no game or cards in it. Oh, there is an SD card, so let's go ahead and get that one out of our way. Just put it aside. There's a couple ways of getting into it. You can go bottom first or top first. There are some membranes here, and it does hook over the headphone jack, so it is a little tough to get in from this side first. So I normally try to come in from the back, and most of my spudgers have seen better days. I'm gonna have to order a few up. But for the most part, you're gonna just get underneath the USB-C port just to get it separated. Then when you work around the sides, it should kind of pop open. Or very stubborn. Let go. There it is. You don't want to force it. It will pop. Just keep running the edge of the spudger in on the plastic and it'll pivot out. And then we can get away from our top. Like that. Okay, and to get into this side, we don't really have to take off any of the shielding. But as you can see, to change the right stick, the shielding has to come off and the entire mainboard comes out. And honestly, in some of the damage, it happens whenever the screen ribbons are coming apart. So let's just go ahead and look at this. Best tool for this job, pointy curved tweezers. This is your power button, and this is a jumper to the other side. Ribbons out. And for the most part, we only have to deal with the gold screws. So these silver ones in this speaker array don't have to come out. As you can see, the speaker will just kind of tip out of the way. And we can unplug that, or we can leave it alone. It really doesn't matter. Gold screws up in the button. Our shoulder button will lift up out of the way. Just be careful of the power ribbon. It kind of sits down in this little trough. And this membrane, this one can be kind of a pain to put back on. It's hard to get lined up. And of course, if you just want to get that button out of the way, it winds up falling and getting in your way anyway. And this is the ribbon for our new stick. So we can pop out the rest of these screws. And I guess there's these two silver screws we still have to take out. And as you can see, this board comes out just like a Joy-Con board. And here's our joystick right here. Two more screws and it should be right out. Now, just to let you know, the sticks between the Lite and the standard Joy-Cons are exactly the same. You don't have to use the white ones. They're a little bit more. But in this case, we're going to use a white one because we're only changing one stick out. You're able to use the black ones, and of course, if you're swapping out both, it's irrelevant because they'll both be black. And of course, I believe the blue one, or one of the ones, have black sticks anyway. So let's give this a little closer look. See if it's split open or anything, or... No, this housing's still in good shape. Just... that's what happened. As you can see here, there's this bit of plastic that would have captured the stick, and they managed to break it off that side. So once that came out, the stick fell out. And that's just being rough on the stick. And I know I've had a conversation with people about this. You know, these joysticks, it's not that they're bad design or bad quality, it's just they're light duty. If you're a hard gamer or an aggressive gamer, you know, you probably don't want a Lite. You're going to want a standard Switch, play it on the TV, and use a Pro controller. It's as tough as, you know, a Sony or an Xbox controller. So anyway, we can now position this back in. Get this ribbon out of the way. You need to be careful with the Switch Lite when you're working on it. The plastic housing is relatively thin, and of course our LCD is mounted into this plastic. And you don't want to twist it or stress it to the point where it is going to, you know, cause issues. Okay, so we have everything in, screws are in. that out of the way. And you gotta sneak your joystick ribbon up in there. And it should drop into place. Or it will fight you. There we go. So it's tucked behind. All right, so it's tucked behind, but it needs to be on top of this little wing. We'll worry about the ribbons in just a second. Put our shoulder button back into place. Spring goes in the little trough. There we go. Don't force it. The little tactile button right in the board here, it's pretty delicate. If you just push it straight in and don't make sure you clear it, you could actually damage that. All right, so now to fight with this little guy. So this membrane needs to be in there. Problem is it always falls out of there. Let's see if we can get it to stay. Sometimes if you're real gentle, it will. Ah, we were lucky. All right, and 2 more gold screws. Oh, that's a tri-wing. Where'd my Phillips go? There we go. Now that, when you're putting that shoulder button back on, it's something that you really need to pay attention to. You can see the membrane from up top, and if it's not in and it's not centered, the button's not going to work. Not to mention if the membrane's captured, it's going to sit this all kind of wonky and you'll never get the shell back on. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of these ribbons. As you can see, we left the speaker attached. If you want to pop that off, you can, but it doesn't really need to come off. So make sure the bails are up. There's no good way to do these, but sorry, my head was probably in the shot. We can get our buttons back in. They just kind of slide into the front. Nothing really holds them in. They come down through that little channel. And slides into the connector. And shut the bail. Our sticks the same way. And this is why I use the curved tweezers. You can kind of get an edge. And you've got a little more control opposed to using straight tweezers for most of these. And the way you know these are the whole way in, you can see this gold line right here, and there's actually a tab on it, and it should be more or less flush with it. And then close the bail. Same thing with these. There's a little gold tab right here at the face of these little grippy ears. Now this is the only one that can be a little fiddly. You want to hold this a little bit straight with your finger here, and then you can kind of position it And all these Nintendo double row ribbons, you can see, it's hard to see, but there's contacts back and forth. The standard original Switch uses one of these on the video connector, and I've seen a lot of them damaged. So just take your time, make sure it's lined up. It's the whole way in the bottom. It's not going to go in crooked. There we go. Like I said, take your time. Make sure, you know, it's lined up. It's not sitting crooked to the socket. And whatever you do, do not line it up, you know, put pressure up top and push it down. These little double row ones, you can actually see the copper here, or the gold pins. And what will happen is when that bails up, the little loops are in front of that bail. And if you put that ribbon here and push it down, you'll actually bend those pins down. I've tried a bunch of times to straighten them under the microscope. Never works. Only recourse on that is to replace that connector, which takes a lot of specialized equipment and a steady hand. All right, so that's everything. All of our screws are gone, everything's hooked up, our buttons are working, our stick's in. So I'm gonna pop the back on and we'll give it a check. All right, figured you didn't need to see me put the screws in the back of this, but just to recap, when you put it together, it's same as when we took it apart. You want to tip it a little bit. You still have to get under your triggers, but tip it a little bit and you will get it in this front edge ahead of the headphone jack. And once it all lines up, you just kind of snap back around, put your screws back in. I have no idea how much power is in this thing, so why don't we just grab a power lead, plug it in. It's charging. Well, then again, we didn't do anything with the charging. There we go, it's coming back to life. I'll put the SD card back in it in a minute. So we can come in and, you know, check our stick, controllers and sensors, and calibrate control sticks. This one looks okay, but we'll calibrate it anyway. Oops. There we go. Nice and centered. And that's it. So this side is pretty easy. This side is fairly involved. And you know, hopefully in another week or two, we'll get one with a broken stick on this side and we can do a video showing that. But for now, I think we'll have a happy customer. If you've enjoyed the video, why don't you give me a thumbs up? It really does help the algorithm here in YouTube. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you watching the videos, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.